Well, dear viewers, if you recall a few videos ago, we talked about a certain type of player that is most toxic in this game, and that was the stats jockey. Well, in today's video, we have a prime example of another type of player that you definitely don't want to be, and I shall point him out when he does arise in game. Now, I know you're watching planes on screen right now, and Stevie bad, right? Right? I understand, but you're going to want to sit around for this video because, well, it's, again, a perfect example of a player you don't want to be, and, well, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So, this is, I guess, kind of a live reaction replay video. Not really, though, a little bit different, because the captain of this ship is Lumpy. He's seen in a couple of videos beforehand, and he does have a pretty good midway game, and the match would be an entertaining match even without said individual making their appearance and doing what they do, but it's just a very, very good example of this kind of player. Now, this is a tier 10 game. You have a CV and a sub per side. Only one CV, only one sub per side, which is kind of blessed matchmaking at higher tier now if you only get, one of each of those things. He is taking a little run up here on the Thunderer with his midway dive bombers, and let's see what happens here. Pretty good run there, 14k on the Thunderer. And if you take a look at the team compositions too, you don't have the friendliest ships to be around if you're in a CV. Thunder has DFAA, Jean Bart has good AA, you have a Minotaur on the enemy team which has excellent AA, and yeah, a lot of good AA ships on the enemy side. On the friendly side, you do have a Rhode Island which has good AA, you have a Johann de Witt which has surprisingly good AA, Yoshino which is surprisingly, especially with the Japanese, pretty decent AA, and a St. Vincent which also has decent AA, and a Holland which has absolutely god tier AA. So, if you look at the situation on the minimap right now, the teams are actually pretty evenly distributed, which is really surprising for higher tier games, because so often one side just gets clumped up on with the team, right? Your team seems to want to go to one flank, hide behind an island, and sit there for the entirety of the match. And this game is not that. I mean, look, everyone's pretty even distributed. You have a fair amount of AA ships on either side of the game. You have a Holland on this side, Yoshino on the other side, Johann de Witt on the eastern side for the friendly team, and then a Rhode Island back there chilling with the Yim, who I'm sure is appreciating his AA cover. Enemy team, you have the Minotaur over here on the sea flank. You've got the Thunderer over on the west flank. So again, pretty evenly distributed with all things considering. Of course, with the submarines being the exception because there's only one of them per side. Lumpy is choosing to pick on the Yami because it's about the only Lone Star ship that he can find by itself right now. Because again, turns out when your team's evenly distributed, AA is evenly distributed, and it works pretty well. He's lost quite a few planes already, even though we're only at like the 4-ish minute mark. Sitting at around 30,000 damage right now. He did just start a fire on that last Yami. Situation is in the enemy team's advantage right now. They have capped the C cap, and they are currently capping the A cap at this moment. Friendly team has not managed to cap anything, but at the same time, nobody has lost any ships so far. There's that Minotaur again chilling around B, so Lumpy decides he does not want to deal with him, because Minotaur is one of the last few ships in the game that does actually have like god tier AA, and you will lose your planes if you attack him if most of his AA guns are intact, and most of Minotaur's AA guns are its main battery guns. So yeah, those tend to stick around for a little while longer. So Lumpy's decided to dive on this Jean Bar and this Napoli. Jean Bar again does have good AA, but not great AA. He's by himself though, and Napoli is, just out the little Italian 4.5 kilometer AA range, so not a huge threat to his planes. And he gets a front strike off on the Jean Bar, who's going full reverse. How very French of him. He's coming around to do the old cross-drop wombo combo, although still pretty effective. Nowhere near as effective as it used to be in RTS CV days when you could absolutely, just slammer somebody with, 3 flights of torpedoes from midway with the addition of the dive bombers on top of that. So that should be a pretty decent strike there. His ship's also quite naked. I'm just realizing this now. So he gets 1 torpedo from the front and 1 from the side? Oh, really? Only 2 torpedoes? Wow. Okay, I thought she was going to get a bit more. But they had that one from the side was pretty close. and those torpedoes weren't exactly out of arming range just yet. So the enemy team right now has the lead. They've only lost a DD, and the friendly team's only lost a cruiser, but they are up, approaching 100 points lead right now. Although it doesn't look like the Z-52 did unfortunately get stuck on an island. He is going to get murdered here by the Kleber. Conqueror is looking to push up this channel in between the C and B caps with his super heal. That's going to make things very, very uncomfortable for that Yoshino here, but that St. Vinny is waiting for him to come around the corner. It's a nice strike on the Conqueror. Alright, fellas, this is the point at which we, our main character that isn't Lumpy shows up. If you notice in chat, there's a certain Minotaur listing ships. The Azuma, the GK, and I think he's got one more to call attention to in chat here in a second. Ah yes, the Thunderer. Or the Thunder as he types it out. What does he mean by those ships? I don't know. Azuma is, well, doing Azuma things, chilling in the back. Thunder is doing Thunderer things, being a sniper. And GK is doing GK things, hanging out about mid-range. They're winning right now. They got 20-point advantage, well, even more now, because they just sunk the, in the friendly Kleber, the Conqueror just did. Okay. Pay attention to this Minotaur. He'll become much more relevant here in a second. So, Lumpy is attacking this Conqueror that pushed up to get said Kleber. And if you notice behind that Conqueror, there's a Minotaur. The same Minotaur that was talking in chat here a moment ago. He's at full HP. And he is running down the channel in between the sea caps behind the Conqueror, who's currently getting the crap slapped out of him. Who also is currently spotting the St. Vincent and the Yoshino. And now he's coming out, guns blazing, no smoke screen, charging a St. Vincent at the 7-minute mark. Okay. If you have any type of problems interpreting what's happening here, he is throwing away his ship. Why? Well, because he thinks his team cannot win, as will be very apparent here momentarily. So there was the, I think that was the Yoshino AP, Lumpy drops a salvo on him, and then the St. Vincent finishes him off. So, the Minotaur player there, and as he'll soon be saying in chat, here he is, telling people to play in co-op, even though, until he died, his team was winning. And still after he's died, his team is still winning, if you notice the points in the ships right now. So, by some manner of foresight that I don't have, the man has decided that his team cannot win this match. So, rather than trying to even just stick around and do what Minotaurs are very excellent at, and farm damage, the man has simply thrown his ship away before the halfway point of the game. This game is not ending anytime soon. I mean, look at the points, look at the ships. One side isn't clearly winning at this moment. But play in co-op, ARP, I guess he's calling out the RPME. He says, why bother making it last longer? When, yeah, look, literally, it's literally a back and forth game. The game that so many of us would like to get into, where there's no one clear winner one way or the other. So, let's see if perhaps the Minotaur surviving to the end could change the outcome of this match, dear viewer. Now keep in mind, Minotaur, again, God tier AA, one of the few ships in this game that has a literal no-fly zone around it still. Let's see what happens, fellas. So, the enemy Jean Bar is pushing to the B cap, attempting to cap that. The ARP Yami that the Minotaur player was calling out for being a bad player just sunk the St. Vincent that sunk the Minotaur player. So, enemy team is up 407 points right now. They are currently capping the B cap. However, the Jean Bar is by himself, which will probably lead to him becoming, well, a reef here momentarily once Lumpy gets over here with his dive bombers. And, oh yeah, this should be a pretty good run here. And let's see, Jean Bar, 32mm, midway bombs. If RNG, yep, RNG occupies. What's the word I'm looking for? Cooperates, which it did. There you go, we have a sunk Jean Bar now. And still, the enemy team is still winning by a solid 30-point lead. They have the C cap. Friendly team didn't manage to grab the A cap. The B cap is still up for grabs at this moment. They have a Thunderer on their team too, which is one of the best battleships in game, although he's currently being focused now by the Sicilia, the Wujing, and the Rhode Island. There's an Apley on their side too, which is also one of the literal best cruisers in the game at this moment. So Lumpy's coming up on the Thunderer, And, ooh, Thunder is not using his 10-second rudder shift here. He's sailing perfectly straight. This should be a good salvo here from Lumpy, and it was. He got fire. What did he do? 15k damage, or is that 5k damage? He did. It was a good run. It was a good run. That RPM is, however, getting quite close to Lumpy, along with the Azuma, which is something you don't want to see in a CV. Is something within a few kilometers of you. Now he is behind CV Island at C5, so they can't see him just yet, but they do know he's there. They can see where his planes are coming from, right? He's going after the Azuma. Azuma doesn't have the best AA. Yoshino has better AA. Oh, look, the Thunder managed to take out the friendly Cecilia. So now the enemy team is winning by a solid 130 points. Pretty good lead so far. But the friendly team is capping B with the Holland. So they might be able to start to bring the points back in their favor. But still, as far as ships go, very, very, very even. Alright, it's coming back around for a second run on the Azuma. And he gets a full run up here. Unfortunately, loses another plane to the Azumas and the Yami's AA. And looks like the RPM and the Azuma are focusing down the friendly Yami, who I can't see what his health is at the moment. But, I mean, obviously when you have two ships focusing you down, and one of them is an Azuma with that godly Japanese HE, that is not very conducive to your survival. Thunder back there holding on to 2200 HP and a dream. Alright, gets some torpedoes out on the Yami. Didn't get to charge that up full send, so let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, but Yami torpedo protection is Yami torpedo protection. Coming around with the dive bombers on the Yami. The Thunderer does go down to the Rhode Island. Friendly team, just did manage to grab the B cap, but points game is still very, very close. I'm sorry, ship's game is still very, very close. Good strike there on the Yami for 14k. I'm sorry, 12k and 1 fire. That's good enough for Confederate, but the ARP-Yami does take out the Tech Line Yami. So now again, the enemy team has 100 points advantage. Boy, wouldn't it be great right now if the Yami and the Azuma had an AA cruiser on their side, like the Minotaur, that would be shredding these planes and could literally just be walking over to Lumpy's midway and murdering him? Wouldn't that, by a chance, change the current situation that the enemy team is in? And keep in mind, they did just lose the RPME, and they are still winning right now by 50 points. Now, the Holland did just get into the A cap, into the C cap, but you know what is also excellent at dealing with enemy DDs? If you guessed the Minotaur, you were correct. So even if the Minotaur wasn't over here with the Azuma and who just got vibe check there for most of his remaining health, wasn't over here with the Azuma and the Yami, he could be absolutely obliterating that Holland in the C cap. But no, he decided that his team had no chance of winning, and he threw away his ship at the 7-minute mark. Yeah, okay, so hella wide rocket ellipse there on the Azuma, but it is not good enough. He gets a single rocket hit on the Azuma, but did start a fire, and the Rhode Island has come to his aid. So keep in mind, too, that even with everything that's gone on this side of the map, this is still an incredibly close game. They still have a submarine, they still have a cruiser, and they still have a carrier up. And there is no submarine left on the friendly side, so we don't know where that submarine's at. We can't use submarine surveillance because none of the remaining ships have it. So that submarine is just living his best life, and I believe he just capped the A cap. And you still have an Apley up that's at almost full health, so it's still anybody's game at this moment. Now you do have a Rhode Island and a Wujing, who are two very strong CVs, and a Holland left up that is very good at telling planes to just screw off. So we shall see what happens. But if you had a single tier 10 British light cruiser still alive at this point, which you probably would be because Minotaurs are very good at surviving if you know how to play them, and the fella that, well, threw away his Minotaur has a lot of games in Minotaur. I know I talked about how stats were and everything, but I'm just curious about the fella, and he has a hell of a lot of games in British light cruisers, and he's pretty good in British light cruisers, so he would probably still be alive right now. Alright, so the Napoli and the Richthofen have been spotted, and the Balao was spotted there for a second, so let's see how this is going to play out. Alright, so Lumpy's diving on the Napoli, who does have a fighter escort. Napoli is exceptionally maneuverable, as you see right there, so I doubt any of those torpedoes really have time to arm on him. He might nick him with one there toward the stern or toward the midsection. Yeah, he got him with one. Now, Rhode Island Woojing are pretty healthy. However, again, Napoli could actually absolutely tear up a Rhode Island if Rhode Island would get close enough for the SAP sectors to do their thing, but they're kind of milling about in the back. They're being very smart here. They don't have to push up and kill the enemy ships. If they wait this out, they will win with the 2 caps. But it does come down to, is that submarine going to go for B? Which would be the move, right? Because he knows the Holland's over at the CV, because I believe the Holland is gunning the CV down right now. So the Palau could just secretly submarine over to the B cap and cap it. Now, granted, that would mean the enemy team knows where he's at, but again, it's a submarine. They're very hard to spot, and they can go underwater if he simply doesn't want to be seen anymore. So, if I was that Palau, that is definitely what I would be doing, but I guess we'll see what happens here. Ooh, Palau gets the Rhode Island. Look at that. So again, we are 3v3. It's anyone's game at this moment. You have an almost full health Napoli left alive. You have a Richtofen who is managing to escape death at the moment. I haven't seen his planes up in a while, so he might be out. Double fires on the Napoli and a good run up there. And Lumpy is, his flight wing is starting to look a little light here now. Yeah, it looks like the Richtofen is out of gun range of the Holland for the time being. Up there he goes. He's got his rocket planes up. Again, this is still anybody's game, fella. 3 versus 3, fellas. So man, so that Palau got the Rhode Island. He could probably just obliterate the Woojing. Woojing is a hell of a lot less maneuverable than the Rhode Island. I don't know if he's using his homing torpedoes or his dummy-fired torpedoes, unguided torpedoes, whatever you want to call them. But he is still surviving. All right, Napoli, yet again, another rocket run on Napoli. That is the Richtofen's fighters. He does fly through that. 3 pins on the Napoli. So he's going to recall his planes, or he's going to stick around and try to get another round out. So he's going to stick around, try to get another round out. He's trying to just pull the fighters away from the Napoli. Because typically, if you can get the fighters to chase you, sometimes they run out afterwards. You can just waste enough of their time, then you can go back in for the attack. Alright, gets a run up on the Napoli. Only 1 plane makes it through. And, if you guys saw that there, Lumpy was spotted. And there's one thing over here that could spot Lumpy, and it goes underwater. And it's got some very angry torpedoes. So, the Palau, if he can take Lumpy out, that's going to be a huge boost to his team. Because their CV, as you can see, he's running out of planes. Lumpy still has a couple squadrons up of his rocket and torpedo bombers, but as you can see, he only has half of his dive bombers at the moment. But it's still more planes than what we're seeing from the enemy Richtofen. So the submarine, if he can get Lumpy out, that'll be a big pickup for the enemy team. Holland is doing the Lord's work over here, distracting the Napoli for the time being, at least. I'm still just worried about where that Balau's at. But again, fellas, you know what would be hella useful right now? A Minotaur! A Minotaur with its AA and its guns to deal with the Holland, or its guns to arm down the Woojing. But, nope, the enemy Minotaur decided that his team had no chance of winning this, even though they still have a very good chance of winning this in his absence. So it looks like Napoli is giving up chasing the Holland, maybe, and is going for the B cap, or he's probably just... Nope, he is going for the B cap. I was going to say he's just taking evasive maneuvers to try and avoid the midway bombers. Up there goes... Oh, look at that. Napoli's AA actually shot down a bunch of planes. Alright, so what's he got left? He got some rocket planes still up. Well, Richtofen has some more rocket planes. Now, Richtofen's rocket planes are actually really good for dealing with DDs, but it looks like the Richtofen is going for the old carrier snipe here. Which, if he can get a couple of flights over here as fast as possible, he could potentially get Lumpy out. The midways have a notoriously big citadel. Let's see if it works. Nope, he goofed it up. He did not aim properly. Napoli's running for the B cap. Palau is back in A and recapping A. Oh, really? He never left? He might have been dealing with the Woojing here. We haven't seen the Woojing's HP in a moment, but I'm assuming the Balau's been trying to sink him. But he is recapping the A cap. Torpedoes out on the Napoli's bow. Oh yeah, look at that. The Wujing is at 26k. So yeah, the Bilal's been trying to work on him. And that, fellas, is the tick of the clock, and that is the end of the match right there. So, hey, look, there be the Bilal. So, what's the lesson here, fellas? Never give up, one. Never give up, especially about the 7-minute mark. And just don't be a jerk. If things aren't... Oh, look, a rare submarine at top of the team right there. That is super rare. Don't be a jerk. Don't be that fella that just... You don't like the way your team's playing and give up. I mean, just for economic reasons, right? The Minotaur is a great farmer, right? Even if the team's not playing well, things aren't going that fantastic, you can still stick around and farm some damage, and at least make some credits. I doubt he made any credits. He, charging at the 7-minute mark. Where did he come out on his team? Somehow not the bottom. Interesting. Oh, because he shot... No, this guy shot down 13 planes. He got exactly 9 more XP than the Conqueror that got a kill, so that's interesting. But, yeah, just never give up, never surrender, and in the words of the Knight Rider intro...
One man can make a difference, Mike.
So guys, that is my knowledge for you guys today. Take that and do with it what you will. And please do not harass the fella that this replay featured. He could have been having a bad day. We all have bad days. And if you are getting to that point to where you do have a bad day, don't let it, let it make you become a jerk in game and start causing other players to have a bad day. It's it's a video game. It's fine to take a step away and go play something else. Go play Helldivers. Go play Dragon's Dogma 2, or just go outside and touch some grass. There are multiple options, right? But anyway, guys, hope you guys have a great Wednesday and a great rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.